Good morning, everybody. Well, we are here at Club Tasik Putrajaya, or the Putrajaya Lake Club this morning. It's quite early in the morning. Yeah, and it rained. I got my script wet. Anyway, let me show you a bit of the surroundings before we begin. I've recently embarked on a quest to find a replacement for my Canon system, I would say, and I have looked at 3 different camera systems or lenses as potential replacements. I'm not going into the reasons why I'm moving away from Canon in this video. I'm just going to focus on comparing how these 3 systems worked during my testing. The 3 camera systems or lenses that I tested for this last 1 month or so are the Panasonic S5, the Fujifilm XT4, and the Nikon Z7 II. Let's start with the dark horse of the lineup, the Panasonic S5. Rumor has it that the autofocus sucks big time. I'll tell you what I found with regards to that. I got the S5 together with the 35mm f1.8 lens from Panasonic, as well as the 50mm. Originally I requested the 85mm, but unfortunately it was not available for loan. Secondly, we have the Fujifilm X-T4, the hipster of the bunch, so called. I got the 23mm 1.4 and the 56mm 1.2 on loan with that. Those are equivalent focal length of 35mm and 85mm, and equivalent depth of field of roughly f2 and f1.8 if compared to full frame. Last but not least, let's talk about the Z7 II. Originally, I didn't plan to test the Z7 II, but I got an idea from watching a YouTube video from 3 Blind Men and an Elephant, Hugh. I think some of you might know him. Yeah, so I heard they had brilliant prime lenses at f1.8, and that is exactly what I'm looking for. So yeah, so I got the 24mm f1.8, which I'm using right now, and the 85mm 1.8. I am predominantly a people photographer. I photograph people during events or weddings in difficult lighting conditions. I also sometimes photograph people in more controlled lighting environments for things like bridal portraiture, etc., etc. So occasionally I do need higher resolution images so that the results can be printed large or cropped as necessary. As such, I took all 3 cameras to a wet market for testing, specifically the Pudu wet market, one of the largest wet markets in Malaysia. Why a wet market, you may ask? Well, a wet market offers precisely what I was talking about. Lots of human subjects to photograph, artificial lighting, and I did my testing pre-dawn, so it was really dark. It also stresses out the autofocus systems for the cameras, so I can confirm whether they would work for me and my work. Alright, it's kind of difficult to talk about image quality without talking about the lenses themselves, and there's only one way to put this. The Nikon S series f1.8 primes are amazing. Okay, they are nearly as good as far as I can tell, the RF 85 1.2 that I own and use and love. Still love. Yeah. Probably about 90% of that lens at a third to a quarter of the price, and a third to a quarter of the weight. they're kind of difficult to ignore. Paired with the Z7 II, the image quality can only be said to be really, really, really good. Now, let's go on to the Fujifilm lenses and image quality. Fujifilm has amazing colors, as usual. Pretty good autofocus, pretty good. So most of the images are in focus. Let's talk about that later. But chromatic aberration control, etc. are quite good. Well, yeah, on the XT4 body anyway. Finally, let's talk about the Panasonic S5's image quality. It is not bad. Not bad at all. I would say pretty good. Lenses are good. Sharpness is good. Not as good as the Nikons, obviously. But they do exhibit a bit of CA. In terms of pricing wise, they can be had for a bit less than the Nikon lenses. So I guess that tracks. Body wise, pretty good, pretty good. So the images it produces are sharp, color rendition is good, not as good as Fuji's. Usable, definitely usable, even up to ISO 3200, 6400, yeah, pretty usable. So you could say that the Nikon sorts of wins out for me. And my hands are shaking again, yeah. So let me put my camera down. Alright, I'm going to go off script and talk about some bits and pieces of my findings. Let's talk about the Fujifilm lenses. Again, the build quality I didn't mention at all. They are amazing. Really, really amazing. They look like they could stand an explosion or two or three. Yeah. The Panasonic S5's body impressed me. It has lots of dials in the right places, doing the right things, and ergonomically, among the three cameras, I would say it is the best. The Nikon Z7's body is somewhat quirky, Nikon-y. Yeah, very Nikon-y. So if you're a Nikon user, I suppose you'll be very used to it. I do like the dials on the XT4, and kind of dislike the ones on my Canon cameras now. Canon cameras have a lack of direct control. Everything is reliant on button combinations and presses that sometimes can be difficult to handle. Let's address the elephant in the room, at least for the S5, the autofocus. The S5 autofocus surprised me. It was much, much, much better than what I've heard. In fact, I could say that it is a little bit better than XT4s in terms of low light autofocus and continuous autofocus tracking. Alright, so you may be wondering, what am I going to switch to? Which system? Which system is the best? The truth is, I am still undecided. I'm waiting for the XT5 to launch sometime in November. Today is 28, yeah. So there are only a few more days to go. And I will still have to make a decision pretty soon. But not just yet. Okay, now on my walk back to my car, let's talk about the reasons why I haven't made a decision. First, let's start with Panasonic. Panasonic S5 is part of the L-mount alliance. But right now, it has a serious lack of practical and usable cameras. Basically, to me, there's only one, the S5. Sigma has a FP, FPL, but those are quirky little cameras for quirky little use. Quirky usages, very niche products. Panasonic has the S1, S1H, S1R, S1 this, S1 that. Those feel like DSLRs to me. So, no. But they do offer a compelling selection of lenses from Sigma mostly, to me. I'm not going to be using Leica lenses. But still, only one viable camera body. No, I'm still a bit worried. Risky. Next one. Let's talk about the XT4 or the Fujifilm system in general. The XT4 is a good camera, but the autofocus is not quite there. The accuracy, the certainness, is just still a little bit less reliable than I like it to be. Lenses are so small that you can pack 3 lenses instead of 2, which is really good. Yeah, I like that, but like I said, still a little bit lacking from my evaluation. Okay, before my hand tires out, now let's talk about the Nikon. The Z7 II and by extension the Z6 II are great cameras. I think I can tell that Nikon has spent a lot of time designing the control system, the ergonomics for these 2 cameras. Even though they came from the first generation, which is like 2018. But the main problem with it is that the lenses are still a bit lacking from third parties. Now, on the flip side, whatever they have, the f1.8 lenses that they have now are great. Well, the 2 I've tested are really good. Comparable to my L primes with slightly smaller apertures. But you don't really need f1.2 all the time or f1.4 all the time. Okay, special treat for my Nikon users who are watching this. Oh, sorry, Sony. I have tested the A7R3, A7R4, A7C with the 85mm G Master and 135mm G Master. But I did not like the 85mm G Master. I guess this is the end. Let me reiterate a point. I am not doing an objective review of these cameras. I'm looking for a camera that suits me for my usage. So don't blame me if what I said or what I think is not what you think. And I have still not yet decided on which way to go or which camera is best for me. But of course, I'm open to suggestions. If you have any suggestions at all, do drop them on the comments below. And I hope you have enjoyed what you've watched up to right now. Goodbye and thank you.